Hello students, today we are going to discuss the method of disposal of sewage effluents. We will start with the topic self-purification of river. Now, when sewage is disposed of in a river, self-purification by natural agents takes place. Okay, when sewage is disposed in a river, self-purification of river takes place. Now, this self-purification occurs by various mechanisms. And what are the various mechanisms? First one is the dilution and dispersion. When all the organic matter is discharged into a large volume of water contained in the river stream, it gets rapidly dispersed and diluted. Okay. Now, if the sewage water is present in a container or in a sewage treatment plant, then the organic matter concentration is very large in that water. When we disperse that sewage water in a natural water body, that is river, then it gets dispersed and diluted in that large quantity of river water, due to which its concentration of organic matter or its effect will gets diminished. Okay, that's why the action thus results in diminishing the concentration of organic matter and thus reduces the potential nuisance of sewage. Now, the formula which is used for the dilution and dispersion is given as Cs into Qs plus Cr into Qr equals to C of mix into Qs plus Qr of mix, where Cs is the concentration of material in sewage, Cr is the concentration of same material in river, that is organic matter. Now Qs is the discharge of sewage and Qr is the discharge of river. Now we will use this formula for the calculation of C mix or Qs plus Qr. Okay. Now, the next process for the self-purification of river is the sedimentation. Now, the settleable solids, if present in sewage effluent, will settle down in the bed of the river near the outfall of sewage, thus helping in the self-purification of river. Okay. Now, when we dispose the sewage water in a river, what will happen? All the organic matter which is heavy will settle down at the bottom of the river bed, due to which the water will become clear. Okay, that is why the self purification of river is done by sedimentation process. Okay. Now the next process is the sunlight. Due to sunlight in the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is released. When the sunlight strikes on the water surface of river, what will happen? This sunlight will be utilized by the algae, which are microscopic plant, and they will do their photosynthesis reaction. Due to this photosynthesis process, oxygen is released in that river, and this oxygen is consumed by the microorganism and they will do the decomposition of organic matter aerobically. Okay, this oxygen helps in the oxidation of organic matter, thereby forming a settleable product. That's why we will do the self purification of river by the sunlight process also. Okay. Now the next process is the oxidation process. Now the oxidation of organic matter present in sewage effluent will start as soon as the sewage outfalls into river water containing dissolved oxygen. Okay. Now the deficiency of oxygen so created will be filled up by the atmospheric oxygen. Now river is a flowing water. Okay. Now due to the flowing water of the river, it gets aerated every time and it will take all the atmospheric oxygen and will become aerated. Now if they have enough amount of dissolved oxygen in that water, now that dissolved oxygen will be consumed by the microorganism and they will do the decomposition of organic matter, and that process is known as oxidation process. Now the last process is the reduction. Reduction occurs due to hydrolysis of organic matter settled at the bottom, either chemically or biologically. Now anaerobic bacteria will help in splitting the complex organic constituents of sewage into liquid and gases. The organic matter which will settle down at the bottom of the river bed gets decomposed, because at the very large depth of river there will be very little amount of oxygen or no oxygen. If at the bottom of the river there will be no oxygen, then anaerobic process will be taking place at the bed of the river. Now due to this anaerobic process, bacteria will decompose the organic matter, and the process is anaerobically, due to which large amount of gases will be coming out from that water. Now this is known as the reduction process. Clear to all? Now we will see the zone of pollution in river stream. Generally we had divided the zone of pollution in river stream into four parts, that is the zone of degradation, zone of active decomposition, zone of recovery, and zone of clearer water. Okay, now we will see one by one each and every zone in detail, starting with the zone of degradation. Now suppose that this is a curve which is shown here. This is a curve which is shown here. Okay, now on y-axis we have taken the dissolved oxygen concentration. Okay, dissolved oxygen concentration, and on x-axis distance of river will be there. Now when there will be no wastewater in the river, then the dissolved oxygen will be up to 100%. Okay, that is the saturated dissolved oxygen. Okay, now when we mix the wastewater in that river, what will happen at that time? Very rapidly the dissolved oxygen will be consumed for the decomposition of organic matter by microorganisms. That's why the dissolved oxygen curve goes on decreasing like this, and at the end of zone of degradation the dissolved oxygen reaches to a value of 40% or so. Now this zone of degradation is generally having color of slightly grayish color, and it has some dissolved oxygen. That's why aquatic life is possible in zone of degradation. Okay, now the next zone comes out as decomposition zone. Now in the decomposition zone, the decomposition of organic matter is continued and the dissolved oxygen reaches to a minimum value of 0 milligram per liter or 0 ppm. When the river water having 0 dissolved oxygen, then anaerobic condition will arise, and due to this anaerobic condition, anaerobic bacteria will decompose the organic matter, and in this zone all the organic matter will decompose completely. And when the organic matter decompose completely, then what will happen? Due to the continuous movement of river water, it gets aerated, and at the end of this zone water will reach to a dissolved oxygen of up to 40%. Now after this zone of recovery will be there. In this zone no waste is added in the water, and only the recovery process will be there, due to which the water gets aerated due to continuous movement, and due to the aeration of water at the end of this zone water will reach to a dissolved oxygen level up to 100%, and that zone is known as clean zone. Now in the decomposition zone, no aquatic life will survive, and here the color of water is blackish color, because the water is having 0 dissolved oxygen. That's why it is having a blackish color. Okay, now we will see zone of degradation in detail. This zone is formed for a certain length just below the point where sewage is discharged into the river stream. This zone is characterized by water becoming dark and turbid with the formation of sludge deposit at the bottom. DO is reduced to about 40% of the saturation value I had told you. Okay, now next zone is the zone of active decomposition, where the organic matter is completely decomposed. Okay, now this zone is marked by heavy pollution. It is characterized by water becoming grayish and darker than in the previous zone. DO concentration falls down to 0, and anaerobic condition may set with the evolution of gases like methane, carbon dioxide, H2S, etc. I had told you that here the anaerobic process will be going on, due to which the amount of gases which will be liberated here is the methane, H2S, carbon dioxide, etc. At the end of this zone, it means that at the end of this zone the DO level reach up to 40% of the saturation level. I had already told you about this. Okay, now the next zone is the zone of recovery. In this zone the river stream tries to recover from its degraded condition to its former appearance. The water becomes clearer, BOD falls down, and DO content rises above 40% of the saturation value. Okay, now in this zone the recovery of the water well takes place. Okay, now last zone is the zone of clearer water. In this zone the river attains its original condition with DO up to the saturation value, that is 100%. Water becomes attractive in appearance and usual aquatic life prevails. Now we need to calculate the oxygen deficit in this river. It will be equals to the saturation dissolved oxygen minus actual dissolved oxygen. It will be written as CS minus C. That is all about the self purification of river and the method of disposal. Okay, now that is all about the disposal of sewage effluents. Thank you very much, students.